To my black people from all over the world, once again, welcome to Africa Renaissance Show. And my black people, there has been this notion that black people cannot farm. And this is a narrative that has been used for quite a long period of time to discourage black people in South Africa from expropriating their land from a small minority of white people. As most of you are aware by now, Boers came to South Africa beginning the year 1652, and they evicted black people from their lands, and those black people who resisted an eviction from their lands were usually murdered, by the Boers. And this led to a situation where the most fertile lands in South Africa have been taken by a small minority of white people, And recently, there has been a narrative in South Africa about expropriation of land, and this has been championed by the EFF under the leadership of Julius Malema. But the white people have been discouraging, the black people from expropriating their land, arguing that black people do not have what it takes, to farm. And my black people, I have good news from Zimbabwe. And this is because Zimbabwe has proven that the narrative or the notion that black people cannot farm does not hold any waters. And right before we proceed, have a look at this video and then we will analyze it afterwards.
We are now producing with this land at a productivity factor much higher than even in the colonial period. We take tobacco, it had gone down because of the land reform to 20,000 tons, because the banks which were lending for that tobacco production refused to give money to the new black farmers, saying that your land is already on title in our bank. You are a new owner, we can't give you money based on the same land because the title is already in our books. So I had to look for new funding because we now own the land, but we didn't have the title which they had given themselves as colonial owners. So we changed the agricultural system and created a relationship between the farmer and the merchant, direct, bypassing the banks. So we got new funding from the Chinese companies. And the good thing today is this year, we are reaching 300,000 tons of leaf tobacco production from as low as 20,000 tons in 2002, 2004. And the good story about it is that 180,000 black families are now the producers of that tobacco. And the quality is as good as ever. There's nothing which says only white people of colonial extraction can grow better, quality leaves, tobacco leaves. The African farmers in Zimbabwe have disproved the racial theory about the superiority of white colonial farmers. This is just an example. And you can see the prosperity which it has delivered to our people in rural areas. 800 million US dollars, solid US dollars, is being distributed to all these 180,000 farmers. So this is palpable prosperity to the black population of Zimbabwe.
My black people, the reason why Zimbabwe is significant in this debate is because of the policy directives that the leaders of this country took after gaining independence. And when Zimbabwe gained independence from a small minority of white people, the president at the time, who was Robert Mugabe, decided to expropriate the lands in that country and give it back to the rightful owners, who are the black people in the country. However, what happened in South Africa is quite different. And this is because when South Africa gained independence, in 1994, the president at the time was very hesitant, and he did not expropriate lands which were now in the hands of a small minority of white people back to the black people. And this is one of the reasons why many people argue that the first president of democratic South Africa, who was Nelson Mandela, was compromised. So now that Zimbabwe decided to expropriate their lands, there had been this narrative for a long period of time that black people cannot farm. But Zimbabwe has proven that this narrative is not true, and it does not hold any waters at all. And the reason why I say this is even after the lands were given back to the black people, Zimbabwe continues to break records, in terms of production. And if I may give an example of production of tobacco in the country of Zimbabwe, in the year 2017, Zimbabwe managed to produce more than 230 million kilograms of tobacco. And this is the highest the country has ever produced, in its history. And the highest that the white people managed to produce, was in the year 2000, and the country managed to produce 230 million tons, of tobacco. So this proves that the decision to give land back to the black people by the then president Robert Mugabe was the best decision ever, because black people are indeed competent and they can farm even better than their white, compatriots. My black people, it is almost impossible to find such positive news in white media. And the reason why this is the case is because they want to discourage black people as much as possible, so that we don't have confidence in ourselves. And they fooled us for quite a long period of time that we don't have what it takes to become farmers. But now Zimbabwe disproves this notion. And this is the kind of information that we should spread all over the world, so that the white people can understand that even the black people have what it takes, to expropriate their lands. And I'm very sure that when this kind of information goes far and wide, South Africans, black South Africans, will have nothing to fear in the expropriation of their lands. And they are also going to expropriate their lands so that they can stop living in squatter camps, and they can take back the land which belonged to their ancestors, and they can continue producing, and also shatter records, just like what Zimbabweans have done. And that's all I have for today. And if you want to watch more of this content, make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Goodbye.